All right, we're about to dive into what is basically a user manual for a very specific type of mind. The source material has a few names for it, like dark empath INTJ, but we're going to explore it as the strategic empath, someone who's running on a really unique and, frankly, powerful mental operating system.
You know that feeling, right? You're talking to someone and you just get this sense that they're not just hearing your words. They're reading the code behind them. Your tone, your pauses, all the things you aren't saying. It's not a magic trick. For some people, it's just how they're wired.
So, to really get a handle on this mindset, we have to start with one very important word: empathy. Because for this framework to make any sense, we kind of have to throw out the common definition of it. Okay, so here's the big difference. Most of us think of empathy as feeling what another person feels, taking on their emotional state. But for the strategic empath, nah. It's about understanding that emotion as a piece of data. And that data then informs a logical, calculated action. It's much more of an analytical process than an emotional one. This quote just nails it. Empathy isn't some passive feeling you get swept away by. It's a tool. It's actionable intelligence. It's something you use to solve problems, especially problems that involve people. The application is everything. So what does this actionable intelligence actually look like in the real world? Well, it's not just about one-on-one interactions. It's about seeing the entire system, the whole chessboard, all at once. And that's what it feels like. This isn't about just predicting the next move in a conversation. It's about understanding the motivations, the hidden agendas, and the patterns of everybody in the room and seeing how the whole game is going to play out in real time. So how does this actually work? Well, it's a pretty clear four-step process. First, you just observe. You shut up and you gather data without any judgment. Then, step 2, you start to analyze that data to see the real dynamics under the surface. Third, you figure out the best way forward. And here's the key. Step 4 is to guide, not to force. The influence is subtle. It's about shaping the environment so the best outcome just happens. And the result of all this? Man, the payoff is huge. You can spot manipulation from a mile away. You can actually motivate people because you know what truly drives them, not just the stuff they say out loud. And yeah, you get really, really good at predicting how things are going to turn out. Okay, so let's pop the hood and take a look at the mental framework that makes all this possible. It really breaks down into 4 main parts. So the internal machinery here is all about high function, but with really tight control. The cognitive empathy is off the charts, the ability to understand feelings but without actually absorbing them. The emotional intelligence is there, but it's contained, it's managed. Pattern recognition is dialed all the way up to see the why behind the what. And all of this leads to a kind of social influence that's powerful because it's so subtle and strategic. And this right here, this is such a key distinction. This approach isn't about giving someone a shoulder to cry on or just saying they're there. It's about figuring out the real problem and finding a path to a solution. The goal is to lift people up with clarity and direct action, not to sit and wallow with them in the mud. So what happens when you put this kind of person in a leadership role? Well, it means they're operating on 2 completely different levels of reality at the exact same time. Think about it like this. Most people just operate on the surface level. That's the official story, the meeting agenda. But the strategic empath is also tracking that subsurface level, what people actually want, where the real power is, and all the emotional currents that are secretly driving decisions. They're watching both channels at once. And the leadership advantages that come from this are pretty clear. You can steer clear of groupthink because you see what's really going on. You don't get lost in emotional drama because feelings are just data points, not destiny. Your influence comes from genuine understanding, which is way more powerful than just a job title. And there it is again. You get incredibly good at knowing what's coming next. So why does any of this matter right now, in the world we're living in? Well, it turns out this way of thinking might be more valuable today than ever before. And here's the kicker. In an age of AI, when machines can handle more and more analytical work, our uniquely human skills become our superpower. A machine can crunch data, sure, but it can't read the subtle dynamics of a boardroom, or build real trust, or combine systems-level thinking with a deep insight into human nature. That is the irreplaceable human edge. You can kind of see traits of this in a lot of well-known leaders. Think about Elon Musk's ability to motivate, or Angela Merkel's famous analytical calm in the middle of a storm. From Stanley McChrystal using empathy as a tactical tool to Sheryl Sandberg reading a room, they all seem to blend that deep human understanding with razor-sharp strategic thinking.
At the end of the day, it's not a choice. It's not heart versus head. It's about taking both logic and empathy, fusing them together into a single, highly effective tool, and then using them to get things done.
So the big message here, the real takeaway, is one of validation. If any of this has sounded familiar to you, the point is, you're not cold, you're not broken, you're not missing a piece. You're just built differently. And we'll end with that powerful thought. What some people might see as a bug is actually a feature. You're just running a different operating system. And in today's world, that is one hell of an advantage.